Thanks for joining the Precision Ag, Hands-on Precision Ag forums this week. This is the fifth and final webinar we're doing. The other four have been really focused on different areas and also growers' experiences. But today we're talking about the manufacturers, and I guess all of the work that we've done up until this point is great, but unless we get it working in the machine, then it's all been for fun, really. So it's so important to get machinery companies involved to actually make sure the data and the files that we create actually get to the ground and do the job that we're expecting. So I'll now firstly like to thank GRDC for funding the workshops. It's been great to have their support. They're very keen on getting on-farm adoption, and so we're trying to get really practical solutions out to growers to achieve that. We've been supported by FarmLink and SPAA, the Society for Precision Ag in Australia, so thanks to their support. Now, next up, we've got Sean McColley from CNH, who is going to talk about Case's offering and give us a good overview of the new stuff that's coming, and also keen to hear about just the basics as well, about boundaries and getting files in and A/B lines and those kinds of things. So Sean, I've got you there somewhere. I'll stop my sharing and you should be able to share your screen now, matey.
No worries, hopefully you can see me. And
yep, we can see you, mate.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, first of all, thanks for being a part of this and putting the show on. It's great to be able to talk to everyone just to see where they're at and how they're going with their precision ag journey. So first of all, just introduce myself. My name's Sean McColley. I'm the AFS product manager for Case Australia, based in Toowoomba, and look after Australia and New Zealand. So what we're looking at today is just going to talk a little bit about connected machines. And in our fleet, we have AFS Connect Magnum, AFS Connect Steiger, and we also have the 250 series combine that are all connected. And what I'm going to show you from factory is how we can use that connected data. No presentation, I just thought I'd get straight into showing actually the farm tab and what you can do or use with it as you see fit. So it is free to anyone. You don't have to be a Case IH customer. Anyone can sign up and use it. So if I just start sharing my screen. Share screen. Okay, so hopefully you should be seeing that, Martin.
Yeah, we can, mate. Thank you.
Excellent. So all I've done is I've already created an account. So if you want to create an account, just go into your web browser, type in mycaseih.com, and it'll take you to a sign-up page. It'll ask you to sign in, but down the bottom there is actually a create an account. Once you've created an account, it'll then take us into the platform, and the platform that I've got loaded, I've got no fields in it at the moment. So what I'm actually going to do is just bring in some field boundaries and then bring in a CM1 file from a combine and just load in one field of yield data. So just to run through, I'll quickly we're going to run through the import stage and then looking at the data. So with the system, obviously it's going to, up the top, I've got an account. So that's my account set up. Then I've got the grower. So I've added myself as a grower. I've also then got the farm and then the years or seasons that I have, and then all the fields that are tied to that season. Across the top, we can either hide the toolbar, open the toolbar up, but we're going to have some reporting status, some charts, dashboard. We can look at activity history, activity calendar. We can also look at weather. We can turn layers off and on, and once I have some data in, we'll look at that. Machines, if we have connected machines, we'll be able to look at those connected machines while we can. If we want to export data, we can do that. And then we can also, our settings, add if we want to add something as a file, and a search function. I'll just bring this over in front of the camera so it's easier to see. So first of all, I'm just going to import some boundaries. So I'm just going to hit on the add button, and we want to go down to the upload data. At the moment,
mate, I can just see at the moment, I can just the top of the tractor cab at the moment.
Righto. We'll start sharing again.
You got too many screens, mate. That's it.
I
I can't handle one, let alone multiple ones.
Oh, that was my bad. So you should be seeing that now.
Yeah, I can see yep, I can see it now.
Thanks for that. So yeah, uploading data. We can quickly look at some data sets that we can quickly bring in. So just to run through, obviously Case IH, New Holland, CN1 file, John Deere, RCD or Gen 4. We can also do a ISO XML, Trimble Ag GPS data format, shape files, third party, harvest loads and protein. So that's the CSV from the crop scan protein, and sort of gatekeeper. But also on the third party, if we just click on that and show supported formats, that's just going to bring up what we can actually import into the My Farm portal. So a few data formats there that we can quickly run through and look at. And like anything, there's obviously going to be some data that we can't take in. Just let your dealer know, and we can obviously take that across to the team overseas and see if we can actually bring that data in and see if we can have that as a supported platform. So they're just an example of platforms that can be brought in. So just to bring in a CN1 file. And this will run through, reading the process. So just out of interest, how many guys at the moment are sending data to a connected platform? So whether it's Case IH, John Deere, New Holland, Fendt or any other manufacturer, I'd be surprised if no one's doing it. It's great technology. Every manufacturer does it. So it's giving us one spot to store location and store our data. So I'm just going to tick the setup data. If I want, I can actually run through and look at the individual fields, but I'm just going to say yes to everything, hit finish. If I wanted to, I had existing field boundaries, I could slide that bar to yes, and it'll overwrite any existing field boundaries. So once that's doing that, obviously it's a portal, so it's going to go up to the cloud, process that data, and send it back. So once we've got that data in, it'll be running through it and looking at it. While that's doing that, any questions anyone want on data types or supported formats? If so, please.
Yeah, stick them in the QA or chat, doesn't matter, it still pops up, so feel free to do that.
Sure.
Sean, question here, that file you just uploaded, it came from a machine, did it?
Yes, that's correct. So it was a CN1 file,
yeah.
So from a machine. So up the top it's saying import CN1 file. So what I can do, I can go and look at processed. So it can tell me if the data is being processed, where it's at. What I can then do is select the grower. And now I've got all my field boundaries in. And if I go to the layer selection under equipment, and if we want to show some guidance, if there's any guidance curves there, we could turn them on as well. So then once they're on, we can quickly then look at our guidance. So we can have, and we can start to turn them off or on depending on what we want to view. So by doing that, it gets a bit messy as in the screen, but we can then start to turn things on and off. So if we only want to show AB lines, we can just look at AB lines, or if we want to show curve track, sorry, we look at curve track.
Sean, we had a good discussion in the last session about the importance of boundaries.
Yes.
And so do you want to make some comments about, you know, how boundaries relate to the whole operations of the machine?
For sure. So especially with this platform, boundaries are very important, because if you upload data without a boundary, you won't see anything there. It'll be in this over on the right, on the left-hand side, it'll be in this missing layer. And what that means is, so we need a boundary to be able to process that data. So the reason we do that is because we may have a spelling mistake. We may have, under the fields, we'll have field 11 or field 1A capital A, field 1A non-capital A. And if we try to bring that in, it'll bring it in under 2 fields. Whereas we're doing it with boundaries, it'll then put that data to that correct field. So like any software package, you can create this boundary manually, but at the end of the day, the most accurate way of doing so is with an RTK receiver, and doing it with a vehicle or with a side-by-side or something that you're driving around doing it. Yes, you can do it from a map that's been created after a layer or a task has been done, but most importantly, it is important to get the boundaries right, because if you're using them for product control or for end of row turns, you want to make sure they are bang on, so you don't put a implement over a fence line or something like that. So it's definitely very important to have boundaries set up correctly.
Yeah, we're still hear of so many customers like have just got random AB lines in machines and, you know, no boundaries installed. You know, I guess we can't stress enough that you can't really move forward on this journey until the boundaries are done. I know it's a painful thing, especially if, like, there's plenty of guys that got 100 paddocks now, so it is a pain in the bum, and paddocks are changing all the time. But I think it's fair to say almost every machine or every sort of system now is working on a paddock by paddock basis. So we can't stress enough that paddocks are, or fields are, the absolute fundamental sort of starting point, I guess.
Exactly, and it's like, and it's a road to autonomy. We're going to have, the first thing you're going to need is a boundary to define where that machine's going to stay. So it's small steps, and it's what's getting us used to doing what we need to do. As you said, Tim, yes, it is painful, but it gives us that opportunity to do that and get it set up correctly. So if we wanted to edit a boundary, we can do so. But what I'll firstly do is just bring in some yield data. So that way we can look at that and run through what it can do for us. So again,
can I just jump again? Sorry, mate. Just got a question come through.
Yep.
Is there any reason why the boundaries can't be drawn in, say, Google Earth, exported as KMZ and then imported into the into this? Because you could, there's multiple ways of getting boundaries in, isn't there?
That's correct. So with this, we won't take in a KML file, but we will take in a shapefile for field boundaries. So
yep.
So for that one, yes, you could do it as a Google KML, but we'd have to convert it to a shapefile to get into this one. But I'll just take a note.
I managed to do a poll too, mate, while you were talking. And so you asked, yeah, are people using connected platforms and sending data? 43% say yes, 14% not yet, and 43% are not farmers. So that gives you a bit of an idea.
And that's good, because like technology is growing, we're using it rapidly in the farming operation. So it's good to see that 43% of guys are actually using connected platforms at the moment, and it's only going to get better with machines coming from factory connected capabilities. And it's every manufacturer, not just us. It's every manufacturer driving this technology to give the grower what they need to be more productive at the end of the day. So I'm just going to bring in a yield data now. And this is only a one field, but just shows the process of going through importing the yield data and then looking at it. And then what I can do is log out and actually log in to, this is Longanon College in Horsham that we work with. So they kindly let us use their data, so we can then jump in and look at application and protein maps and so on. But it's just giving you the basic understanding of what the portal can do and what you can achieve with it. And like I said, you don't have to be a Case-H customer with that third-party data platform that we can bring in. You can utilize this to do whatever you would like. So I've just chosen to bring in agronomic tasks. So that's just going to bring in any harvest data that I've got. And once that comes in, it'll start to import, process. Then we'll be able to view that and just do some basic reporting with it. So when it's scheduled for processing, we can actually close that, come back to it. Once it's finished, we'll get a green bar across the top of the screen, just letting us know that that is functioning and working, and it's processed. So if we want to click on a field, we can click on it, run through. Obviously got nothing here to show, but we can look at some details. As I quickly look at field details, if we look at weather, it's just going to use that boundary and online data platform and just give us a indication of rain events for the year, so we can then quickly just click on one and get a rain event, so we can, and that's the good thing about having boundaries. With all these boundaries in there, we can quickly look at that and have a quick look at what rain event or weather on the farm without even leaving the office. So we can see that it's processed. Now, if I remember correctly, it should be field 9. It's not field 9. So just, oops. So that Always no not coming in.
Well, Jason, that made a question or comments come in about drawing boundaries of satellite data and some of the, I guess, some of the issues with that. I can make some comments on that. I think, we've certainly feel, satellite data, the rectification of satellite data certainly got a lot better in the last few years. But, yes, it can be out, but I mean, the shifting of that is pretty good now. I guess also the age of the satellite data is a problem. So, if you're using Google Earth to do it, it's pretty up to date, but other programs might be a little bit out of date. So often you might not have the most up-to-date imagery to draw those fields on. So yes, it can be a problem to draw. I guess when you look at what's that used for in the future in terms of documentation, that's a good point that you've said there. You can use it for machine control with those drawn functions, but what it does is you just set a rate in the screen to say, what's the default rate if I lose or if I go outside of my prescription or whatever. Obviously with section control, it's a big problem because you're going to end up not applying areas of the pag that should have got chemical. So you can set that in the screen though to actually put on a default rate if it falls outside of the field, or it loses GPS. You can still get it to apply chemical or whatever. So yes, there is some limitations with that, but it's not the end of the world. We do a lot of prescriptions just based off satellite imagery, and we just put a generic rate in. Not so much for turn automation, no, absolutely not. So in a robotic world, you don't want random field boundaries for things like automation. Spot on. Thanks for those comments. How'd you go, mate?
Yeah, no, I'm going to restart. I'll close that and bring in another one.
All good.
All good.
I guess the comments too we had about calibration of yield data, the importance of doing that, and I think it's fundamentally important that we get the calibrations right, because you might be just looking for percent differences across a field, but if you have multiple machines or really want to do trials analysis, for example, then it's very important that you have good yield data and good calibrated yield data. And obviously the machines are improving, but it makes it hard to analyze if you haven't got very good clean data.
For sure. And it's like anything, that little book that's behind the seat or under the seat or in the cab, make sure you read that on calibrating procedures, because each machine is going to be a little bit different. Each manufacturer is going to do a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, we're all wanting the same end result, is make sure the machine is set up, calibrated correctly, firmware is updated on every controller, display, receiver. And once you do that, it's going to give you a good start for collecting that data and collecting it accurately, so we can make some informed decisions on agronomic inputs or something like that. So what the problem was, I had two windows open. I was looking at this same setup, and it was causing a bit of grief for me. So I closed that. Data's come in. If I select field 9 now and go across, I can then look at, depending on what year it is, I can change it to 20, and I can look at yield. Once I bring up the yield, we have our legend down the bottom that we can look at. I click on dry yield mass, and these are the other layers that we can look at. So we can look at wet, we can look at moisture, look at speed. So once we've got that, we can then click on the little button. We can quickly generate a PDF if we want to. What that's just going to do is run through and generate a quick PDF that we can send to people. So if we're doing this for, obviously this is a harvest task, if we're doing an application task and we had a Technics, it will also give us the products that we used in that Technics. So that's just a quick PDF that you can download, print, and email or save and share accordingly to who you'd like to share it with.
Would you do batch ones, mate, like multiple paddocks at once, or just one paddock at a time?
One paddock at a time, yes.
Yep.
Just one paddock at a time, and then we can sort of start to overlay different applications. So we can also look at a protein map. So this is a protein map that come out of that, and we can overlay the two, and then just start to fade one layer over to look at both layers.
Sorry, mate, that protein data, where'd that come from? Straight from the header?
So that protein data come from its crop scan. So crop scan, these guys have a protein, and that's bringing that. So you unload that data from that crop scan display and bring it in through a CSV functionality. It gives you that protein map to be able to use, start to look at if you're doing any N replacement or anything like that. So just giving you a few options, and then obviously we can look at application, and then we can look at there's lots of application rates that we can use. In saying that, also quickly down the bottom, we can quickly just look through and different color of the so we can see we've got barley, we've got, scroll out, we've got different color maps. Those are representing different crops. So you can quickly look at that. Because these are connected machines, we can then, if the machine was working, we could then look at that machine and see it was working as well. But we can quickly look at it. It'll tell us if there's a status of what it's doing, engine revs, engine load, fuel consumption. We can send a file to that machine. We can get directions, like breadcrumbing, so basically what it's been doing the last 24 hours, or we can then go back to 90 hours, and we can also set up any rules for like geofencing or curfew if you want to do that to monitor your machines. And what we can then do is start to looking at with the legend with the machines, we can actually see the working state, so we can see if it's working, whether it's key on, whether it's idling, whether it's moving, or it's traveling in transport, or it's off. So, and we can have them on or off. We don't have to see them if we don't want to.
Can I interrupt for a sec?
Yes, for sure.
I get questions around machines and being able to look at idle time, working time, traveling time of a machine during a particular day, especially if it's a corporate or a farmer who's off farm and wanting to know what's going on with these machines. Can you look at that information? Or is it just a percentage of the day, or can you break it down into, say, between 10 and 10:30 was idling or something like that?
You can build a report and then basically just have a day, a calendar start and stop, and just have a look at that machine. Yeah, you can't delve right into it. In the back end of the fleet part of the program, you can, and it'll give you a bit more functionality. But this is just viewing the farm tab, and it's just overlaying that machine data there to give you a quick visual. You need to go to the fleet tab to get more in-depth reporting.
But you can find it.
You can find it, yes, for sure. Yep. And at the moment, we've got the like an API going with Data Connect, so that'll let us use class. So if a customer's got Case IH machines and a class machine or a John Deere machine, we can get those machines onto this. And it's not going to give you agronomic data, but it's going to give you machine data and basic machine data. We won't see everything we'll see from our machine, but we'll see location and fuel and speed. Which is good, because we're starting. Yeah, we're starting to build that platform where working with other manufacturers to be able to utilize that. So it's a small steps. It's better than it has been, and eventually down the track, we'd like to see that agronomic data being shared as well. because we realise that not everyone has a red fleet or a blue fleet or a yellow fleet. So there are mixed fleets, and to be able to combat that, we need to be able to work together to do so. So what I might do is just open out to any questions. What are customers wanting to look at? This is a very basic overview of what the product does, but yeah, it is something that someone in particular wants to know about. Happy to run through that. What I can do is just turn on a guidance line and just look at those.
I'll kick it off, mate.
Yep.
I'm not I'm not bold in going forward. Tell me, what's the process with the CN1 file? We got to, when we want to push a prescription to a machine. I've got a basic understanding. It goes through a CN1 file. Is that right? If someone gave me a prescription file, say it came out of the DataFarming platform, it's a zip shape file. What's the process to go through to get it into a machine?
So you can use the portal, and we can upload that shapefile.
Yep. And
what we can then do is upload that shapefile. We then go to export. We want to go to a CN1. Now this is where we can choose whether we want to download or send to equipment. So if we just hit download, we'll select the farm, select the field. We can select operator, and we can then include prescriptions, and then we can go yes, next, and then build it. I'm not going to.
Don't want to send them one.
But you can then, then you can download one or send one, but you've got to go through the process, and it'll then tie it to the CN1 folder. Or if you want, we can go to under the setup, under data. Setup, zones, prescriptions.
Okay.
They got none here, but if they had a prescription, we could then click on that and export it as a shapefile as well, to be able to, with our new Pro 1200, it'll bring in a shapefile. With the CN1, you can then tie it to that CN1 file.
And mate, when you import that shapefile, does it, as a prescription, does it give you the file as a map with the rates embedded, so you can see what you're going to be doing?
When you open it up, no, it's just
a
shapefile straight to load to the. Yep, doesn't give you a preview.
Does that file have to be zipped, or is it unzipped? Because sometimes we just output a zipped file because it's easy to transfer on an email or whatever. But does it need to be unzipped, or is it just zipped up's okay?
Zipped up's okay.
Cool, beautiful. That makes life easy. Cool. For people that don't know what we're talking about with shapefiles, there's multiple parts to a shapefile, and if you don't have all those components going across to the machine, if you just send one part of those shapefiles, it won't work. So that's often why we zip all the files up, because it bundles them all together and keeps them together. I often ask growers, "Oh, can you send me the shapefile?" And they send me the .shp, and they forget all the other 5 other files, or there's up to 6 files that can be on the shapefile. You need at least 3, I think, Sean, as a minimum.
Minimum 3, 4 is normally what you see.
What you see, yeah. But if you don't include all them, then the file doesn't work. So you just got to keep that in mind too when we're shifting files around. That it's often better just to zip them up.
That's correct, and that's a good point. And I just thought I forgot to mention before when I was looking at this yield data. So what we can also do is part of this this program, we've got what we call harvest tracking. So we can, if you're delivering grain to a weighbridge, you can actually start a harvest tracking with a mobile app. It can then take a picture of the weighbridge ticket. We can then down the line, once we've got all the data brought in, we can do a post calibration. And what that does is, if we've got the harvest tracking started, it'll then look at all those tickets that we've received, and then you can punch in that correct weight, and then it'll recalibrate that field or post-calibrate that field. Once that post-calibration is done, it'll then bring a little green tick on saying calibrated. So that's what you can do with that. And then at any time you can recalibrate that if you want to. So that's just something I forgot to mention. So obviously this is a canola field. And we can look at yield data there as well. So and we can obviously look at beagle speed, beagle coverage. Anything else? That was just I'm just nearly out of time, so I just thought I'd quickly give you an introduction instead of going through a PowerPoint presentation, just to run through and look at data coming in. And like anything, if you would like to know any more information, definitely contact your local dealership. And we've got plenty of YouTube on the Case IH Australia YouTube site, so happy for guys to go and look through there, and that'll also step you through how to use the farm portal as well. So thank you very much for your time, and yeah, happy to take any questions.
I've got a quick one. What other layers are there available with, say, that harvest data that you've imported? Will it show you, say, changes in variety or?
So at the moment, it's just going to give you dry yield, wet yield, moisture, speed, and coverage. We've got no varieties at the moment.
Yep.
Nothing else.
You can also get the satellite imagery coming into the platform too. Is that right? Or is that on the paid version?
That's, yeah, that was on the previous version of this, and that'll be coming in future. To be able to, we are working with that at the moment. We've got APIs starting to appear. There's not a lot in the APIs yet at the moment. If I just click onto this one and go to the farm, the fleet, just so I can go to the data tab, just to show, just to get to the data. So at the moment, for the mixed fleet, so you've got the John Deere and the Class, obviously, and then we've got at the moment for agronomic data sharing, FarmZ. So that's all we've got at the moment. But more to come. They're working with manufacturers at the moment to try and integrate more API data connection.
A question come in about adding any devices to machines. I know it's a little bit left field from precision ag, but if you're, I think I know what the answer is going to be, but if we're adding an IoT sensor for harvest fires, what's the sort of stance on adding bits and pieces to machines for different sensors to machines in a broad sense?
So at the moment, we're only going to bring data in that's from our own telematics system. Is that we're asking the question on how do we go about putting other sensors onto machines?
Yeah. So, yep.
So yeah, at the moment that's up to the customer. Obviously, you just want to make sure it's not going to avoid any warranty issues, but depending on what platform it's going on, whether it's going to avoid any warranty issues or not.
Another question, can we add EM data into this platform?
At the moment, no, it is coming. It's being worked on. The CSV was the protein is the first one we've got, and then soil maps, EM, yep. Such as that. In North America, obviously, yes, they bring in soil map because it's widely used, but in Australia, we haven't got the functionality to bring in to import an EM map as yet. No worries. Well, I'll stop sharing the screen, and thank you very much for your time, and yeah, pleasure being a part of it.
Thank you so much, Sean, for your time. Really good look at where you're at, and yeah, some good clear messages too about setups and the importance of boundaries and getting the machine set up correctly. Really good clear messages. Thanks for your time. I'll just hit stop recording.